Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Wolves Den podcast channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button. So, we're going to jump into topic today, talking about a little bit about the martial arts world, a little bit about the dog world, and some tactical training and what that looks like for real life, right? So, let's jump into it. So, a lot of us, when we think about sports, we think about preparing just for like an MMA fight, right? You go and you train and you get ready to fight in a cage, right? There's rules behind it, right? Same thing with the dog world. When we're training these dogs for protection sports, um, we think that, the dog's going to be good on the field. And when the dog comes out, even for Shih Tzu, whatever it is, the dog's biting on these sleeves, right? And the dog's scoring points, just like the MMA fight or a boxing match. There's points, there's refs, there's rules. Um, and so, same thing with when you go to a shooting range or you're in a competitive shooter, and you go to a range and you're shooting targets, right? But the thing is that when it comes to real life training or real life scenarios, there's no rules for real life scenarios. These things are going to happen, and it happens fast, right? So if you heard my previous podcast, when I was a bounty hunter, I was shot at, and it happened so fast being shot at that I didn't realize like how close that I could have really just lost my life. Like it didn't hit me until afterwards, right? Even though I had trainings and I've trained with people at the range, there's nothing that compared to that real life situation. Um, when it came to that. The same thing with a lot of these times that we're doing these martial arts, right? We're doing jiu-jitsu, wrestling, Muay Thai, kickboxing, karate, taekwondo, right? We're in these settings and we're drilling, right? And we're preparing ourselves, preparing our mind for being uncomfortable in these situations. Um, but yet we still have rules that we go by, whether it's in the gym or if you're preparing for a tournament, whatever it is, right? So a lot of the times that we forget is that when it comes to this real life training, you got to try to make it, or the real life scenarios, you got to try to make this training as real as possible, right? Like, so if there's times where I rolled at a previous gym and we had people coming down from like a tactical team. I don't really want to get involved to say who it was or what department it was, but they asked us to roll with them, which we did, and we also hid weapons amongst ourselves. So during the roll, it was real scenarios where they were grabbing our arms or trying to get us in control holds, and we're making it as real as possible, right? It's the same thing with the dog world. When we're doing stuff with the dogs, it's like a lot of the times, we're getting these dogs ready for the sports field, and to get a dog really ready for protection, you got to train under. You got to develop this dog, build this foundation. Not only that, you got to get this dog really ready to respond to real life situations. And how do we do that? Well, for me, I paint the picture. So if I'm gonna get a protection dog, I'm definitely gonna paint the picture where if I'm doing a carjacking, I'm building this dog up, and so the dog knows that if it's responding in a vehicle, that it's okay to bite inside the vehicle, especially if I'm carjacking that vehicle, right? Or if it's an attempted kidnapping, that what does that look like for the handler? What does that look like? The handler is the owner, for some of you that don't know. So what does that look like for the handler? What does that look like for the dog? How can you prepare for this? How do you get your dog to respond to these situations? Because everything that happens in the real life situations, there's no rules, so things are happening in seconds, right? The same thing I try to apply with any type of training. If I'm at the range, I like to try to drill on how fast I can actually, get down range and shoot, or um, I'll call one of my buddies up and we'll go down there and we'll try to put some scenarios together, right? the same thing, like even me clearing my own house, like there's times where I practice just clearing my house as fast as I can and as safely as I can and possible I can, and I introduce my dogs to that. Um, so even with martial arts, if I'm drilling, I have my garage fixed up. So if I am drilling outside my gym, I'll drill in my garage, and I'll go through these real life situations with my friends or whoever's coming over, and really try to put those things to possible. Because for me and the type of field that I was involved with, being a bounty hunter, and then you guys know my other jobs I had, I always try to stay prepared as possible, especially with that mindset, right? Um, so that helps me out a lot, and with my trainings. There's a lot of stuff that happens, even with protection dogs, like the sports dogs. I mean, that's great that these dogs are biting on sleeves. That's great that these dogs are biting on suits, but when it comes to real life situations, the dog's not going to be hitting their inner bicep. Like you'll see a lot of these trainers, they'll stick the arm out, and the dog will hit the bicep, which is great for protection sports. But in a real life situation, you're deploying that dog to go, right? So the dog has a mindset that he needs to go and do his job. Do you really think for a second that the person that's trying to cause harm to you or your family is going to turn around, stick the arm out, and really show a bicep that's where it's going to get hit, right? That's where the dog's going to bite or counter here, right? So that's not going to happen. Most of the times when people are coming at you, they're coming at you with the intention to hurt, right? So you have to have this mindset to be ready and prepare to respond to that situation. You got to be ready and prepared to answer force with force, right? So that's why we apply a lot of pressure, even with the dog sports, or even if whatever martial arts we're doing, we're applying that pressure to get ready to answer force with force. Right, that's the way I believe. That's the way I've trained. That's the way I grew up under. Right, just answering force with force, and that's my response. Right, not everyone's going to agree with that, and that's fine. Everybody has their own opinions. Everybody has their own story. For me, I know what I like to do and how I like to train. Right, so if I'm training my dog to come to attack, and you're coming at me, you're the person that's trying to hurt me or my family, I'm going to deploy my dog. But once my dog hits you, I believe I have enough training that I'm going to be my dog's backup. I'm that person that's coming in. I'm his partner. I'm that secondary. I'm coming in to answer force with force. And if my dog's hurting you, best believe that I'm going to come in right behind that dog. Just as much as he's biting you, I'm going to take you down to the ground. I'm going to control you. I'm going to do what I got to do to protect my dog, my family, right? These things happen in situations where I take a handler and I say, deploy your dog, let the dog bite in a bite suit. How fast can you go there to back up your dog? How fast can you get there to be able to give a description to dispatch, to the police, to let them know what's going on, where you're at, why you're in this fight, right? There's a lot of people that can't do that because they don't train for that, right? Because their adrenaline's kicking in, they're getting tunnel vision, they're forgetting where they're at, they're forgetting what street they're on, they're forgetting what things around them look like because they're so caught up in that moment, right? That they forget everything around because they haven't trained for it. And that's what I'm trying to get across. Like, you need to train for situations that you could possibly be in, right? If you're a fighter, you need to train for situations that you could be faced in a cage or a ring. That's why you train. The same thing needs to happen with real life situations, right? I'm not saying that the MMA guys or UFC guys can't come out and fuck somebody up. Of course they can, right? But when it comes to meeting force with force, or someone's coming out with a weapon or a bat, you got to be ready to respond, right? You got to be ready to take that action. You can run away, but what if you got your kids with you? What if you got your family with you? You guys are just walking. Imagine trying to get everybody out of there, right? Especially if you have a bigger family. You're going to be tripping over themselves. You're going to be hurting yourselves. So you got to be able to respond. Running away is always a good option. It's probably the best option when someone has a weapon, right? It's to run away, get out of there. But even those times, people forget what that person looks like. They forget that description. They can't give a description what that person looks like. So you got to train under this pressure, these circumstances, to really answer what the person is trying to do harm to you, right? You can sit all day at a shooting range and shoot a target all day, but guess what? That target doesn't shoot back. It's the same thing where Bruce Lee said, that punching bag does not punch back, right? So when you train, no matter what it is, train to prepare yourself for the worst outcome, right? So you can have possibly the safest outcome. When I was going in with my guys from my team, yeah, as bounty hunters, right? Whatever people want to say or talk shit about, that's fine. But when I would go in with my team, we search houses. We would go through that door with intention, like this is what we got to do, right? Because this is what we train to do. A lot of people are like, oh, this is now, yeah, bounty hunters, we do train. We trained a lot, right? We're in situations all the time. We don't get backup from the local PD all the time. There's times it's just 2 or 3 of us, sometimes 2 of us. And when you're going through these homes and you're searching for this person that you know is possibly in there, you got to prepare for the worst, right? Just like I said, when I got shot at, I trained, but did I train enough? Did I train hard enough to answer that? Force with force. No, I didn't. Because there was a time that when that happened, I froze up. Yes, was I able to confront that person? Yes, but I fucking froze up. So you got to be able to train, right? That's something that I got to deal with all the time, is trying to break that tunnel vision, right? Because that tunnel vision's there. It's constantly there. It's fight or flight. Fight or flight. So you got to make that choice. And how you train your dog, prepare yourself for your dog, prepare yourself at home, prepare yourself with your family, prepare yourself to answer that call when something's happening, right? And it all comes down to your training and how your training methods are. The way you train is the way you will fight. I 100% believe that. The way you train is the way you will fight. So if you're training like shit, guess what? You're going to fight like shit. If you're going out there to a shooting range and you're trying to be, tactical with it, and your training's, you don't know what the fuck you're doing because you don't want to ask or get the right help or go to other sources that could help you, that people are there that know what they're doing, you're training like shit, you're going to perform like shit. If you're going to a gym and you're lifting weights, but you don't want to take the time to research and how to build muscle and get bigger, or even cut down, and you're like trying to be the best health that you can be, and you're just doing it whatever you're guessing, and you're training like shit, you're gonna be shit. Same thing with the dog world. If you're not doing your training right with your dog and consistently improving and getting better and spending that time to get your dog better, you're perform like shit. The same thing with MMA, jiu-jitsu, any type of martial art. If you're going out there and you're just being fucking lazy, everybody has tired days. But if you're not giving 110% every time you go out there and train or jump on those mats or asking questions to your professor, to your coaches, whatever it is, you're going to train like shit. And, but there's excuses. Well, I'm tired. I got 5 jobs. I got 3 jobs, right? Do you think that person that wants to do harm to you cares about how many fucking jobs you got? How much sleep you got last night? How much fucking drinking you did last night? That person that wants to go into your house and break into your house and do harm to your family, do you think they really care? They don't give a shit. They have one thing in mind. That's to do harm to you or your family. So how are you going to prepare for it? How are you going to train for it? Are you going to be that bitch and whine and cry? Or are you going to go out there and smash and train fucking hard? It's all up to you, man. I believe in you. Hope you get something from this podcast. Don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button. Wolves Den Podcast out.